Me crashime teie
Okay, so hi. We're here to speak about case study about Drupal and our project Punkted, which is selling digital game codes across, let's say, globe. You can see in the next slide how many countries. And we speak here about some obstacles we have had during the period of time, and others will explain more how we have solved these obstacles or what has been the main things we have done to get rid of them. So yeah, my name is Hannes, I'm CEO of Punkted, and I have 12-year experience in e-commerce sector. So
yeah, and I'm Andres. I've been Drupal developer for 6 years. I joined Green.Weissman a while back, and I've been developing Punkted website for 4 years now. And yeah.
Yeah, about us that we were established 2009, so first project or version of the site was pure PHP code, so we didn't use any system at all, so it was like a, let's say, school project or something like that, so really minor, made by just two, 3 people. In 2015 we moved or choose to go to Drupal, and in here we put a scale of sales per month over the time, and you can see that it affected our sales quite well. So it was a correct choice to do. At the moment we are operating in 7 different languages. As we are at the moment on Drupal 7, there's a quite hassle to add languages, so we're moving on with the new thing next year, then we're gonna clean this number up a bit more. And yet last year this was actual customers around the world. We sold to 109 different countries. Monthly visitors on our site is 200,000 visitors per month. And from this year, April, we're also listed in Nasdaq as well, Tallinn Nasdaq to be exact. So why was Drupal selected? A few points picked from the last developers that during the time it was most flexible, so the code and everything was really easy. Not easy, but at least it gave us a chance to modify basically everything we wanted. Yeah, back to then, that let's say WordPress is now really used as e-commerce as well, but back to then it was really just only the blog post, so it wasn't any option to them. Today we also use Node.js, but back then there wasn't nothing to work on that, so it was skipped as well. And yeah, going back to the first point, that it was selected because the community provided a lot of models we were able to use whatever we asked or wanted to do. Yeah, should we speak or just get overview about common problems and issues during the time? There has been minor and bigger ones, but these are, let's say, the issues which are ongoing, still have to work with them. Payment problems, this is also thing we do if we sell over 100 countries. Verification problems for users, login problems, such on. Our problem specific is that if somebody gets access or there can be some major error, it is possible that some people get, let's say, 2 products instead one, so that's our business risk we would like to reduce. Performance, so far we have grown every year since beginning. Some years 100, 200% per year, so this has been also obstacles for all the time to get all the performance upgoing. And monitoring is monitoring is more like system monitoring, how well everything is going, and can we see some kind of errors or problems before actually something happens. So this is still ongoing work. And it's combined with the security questions. So let's speak a bit payment problems. We have a lot of fraudulent buyers. So in our specific sector, as people get their product with seconds after payment confirmation, they usually try to use this from their own good. So it goes for the next one as well. Combined, a lot of people use some kind of stolen accounts, or they themselves make a purchase and claim to the bank that it wasn't them who made them, and we all the time have to hassle with the banks, police, or whatever, who has the question that what happened on our site. So yeah, our payment problems is ongoing, and the problem part is that we have to validate customers as much as we can before actually confirming the order. So it has to happen within some seconds after the payment has been made. Yeah, and that's just the end of the story. A lot of effort will go still into it.
Okay, so I will talk about how or what we have done to prevent these issues happening. So the first thing that we're doing on the site is setting payment amount limits based on user trustworthiness. So on our site we have a thing called bonus system, or if a user has their so-called level, depending on how often or how much they have bought before. So with that, if user is a frequent buyer, we know that the possibility of them trying to get a fraudulent purchase is lower, so we can increase the amount that they can buy for based on their level, so-called. Also, what we have developed is a high-risk system, and this also filters out some odd orders, and we can review them manually. So, for example, let's say if somebody buys a lot of products and really frequently, let's say they make an order every 5 minutes, then we can be quite suspicious that either they are buying with somebody else's account, because usually people don't buy so many products for themselves. So that's how we can also prevent these things happening. And as well, if somebody makes a purchase which is really expensive, that's something as well that we can check over manually to know if it's legit purchase or not. And especially with PayPal, because it's the most problematic payment method, we also send out emails only to account that's related to their PayPal account. So, for example, somebody can make an account on our site, make a purchase with his stolen account, but the games or game codes go to the actual person who bought them. So that's also one way to prevent people from getting scammed, because if somebody gets codes that they didn't order, they can pretty much refund them and give us them back. And also we can check certain parameters. We require people who buy with PayPal to verify their phone number on our page as well. And that's also, we can check if the phone numbers match in our site and in PayPal as well. So this is another layer of so-called security. So we know that this is a legitimate buyer. And one thing that we also did recently is that, again, in PayPal you have the possibility to authorize money instead of directly taking it off from their accounts. So we can authorize money from their account, and once we see that this is indeed a legitimate order, we can capture it. So at first we can authorize it, and if we think it is a fraudulent buyer, we can just release the money from their account. And that also helps us to save from fees, because if you want to refund an order or money, you have to pay a fee from that. But just if you avoid the payment, it's free. So this is something from where you can save money as well. And also what we can do is exclude specific countries. If we have experienced that, I know, let's say Nigeria, for example, if there are some buyers, some countries where we have experienced a lot of fraudulent buyers, then we can set all purchases from specific country to manual reviewing. So this also helps us to prevent fraudulent purchases.
I would like to just add, as this is a very well-known area for us, that all the fraudulent usually comes outside the Baltic states. So most countries try to scam us, or not Nigeria, it's more like Germany. So, and that's basically because they know the rights that if they didn't make the payment, they always can get it back. And let's say in Estonian bank at least, you have to pay extra to get back the payment you made. 10 euros or something like that. For example, Germany, you just have to write them that it was a Niid and you get it back. So this checks varies depend on the payment methods and depend on the bank, so it's not overall for all the site. Yeah.
Yeah, here we have an example of just we drew out how the logic is. For example, one payment method, how many checks and different paths or things there are that we need to check before we finally complete the payment. And so yeah, there is a lot of going on to prevent scamming and to actually filter out purchases that are legitimate.
Yeah, here we also, as Andres already mentioned, have implemented SMS verification modules and tried different solutions as well. Now we have stuck with one, also modified with us a lot. The purpose why was it done was explained as with Andres also, that it gives us second layer of verification of the user. So maybe it's not only even if the number matches, we can actually see the country code. Is it coming from the same country where the actual payment account was originally made? So we can check that, and we use it on the few other steps as well, as we provide referral system. So users must verify their account with phone numbers, so they cannot refer themselves or doing some extra accounts to get bonuses in our bonus systems. Yeah, and as you can read, implementing this system with Andres, we actually did everything we think. But in the first day or few first days, we figured out that somebody or something is actually using, I don't know, it was in our system or the provider side, never get actually a really good idea for that, but a massive amount of fake verifications. But every verification cost us something cents or something. So this 600 bill was made a few days, and it included tens of thousands verification from some random numbers. So actually we don't understand still who got benefit for that, but at least we paid for that.
Yeah, and so yeah, this was a problem that we thought it's really hard to abuse because people could only verify their phone number once they're logged in. So yeah, somebody discovered maybe they had fun trying out what they can do or whatever. But yeah, we had to think of a solution how to prevent that. And actually, the solution was quite simple because we just used Drupal's cloud module, which pretty much you can set limit how many requests or something somebody can make. So we set the limit that every user who is logged in can make 10 requests per month, let's say, or even 10 requests per IP. And it luckily solved us the problem. And even if somebody goes over to request, they always have, I don't know, support chat or something that they can ask. That yeah, I couldn't do it in 10 times. Maybe he will give us one more chance or something. But yeah, we haven't had problems with this after implementing this solution.
Yeah, I can add that actually users need to verify the number once. So this is not something they have to do all the time. So it's just once verified. And lately we had we had problems with Egypt, I think, that for some reason Egypt numbers didn't verify. So that was actually, as Andres mentioned, support need to confirm it manually. So these kind of things happens. Yeah, the topic about people getting free products. So we had some kind of long-term problem that was actually as with development error that used one old development guy who implemented bank's verification system, write their code or comment deleted before going live, but he didn't do that. so actually, and what was the case that few people actually discovered that going to the bank redirects you back to the site, and there's a 1 second some URL, they saved it, and that they managed to actually fake bank answers. So and they were quite clever because considering all the high-risk system we had, the limits and how much you can buy and so on, they continued to do, let's say, 50 euros orders every week or something for a 2-year-long period. So actually, this didn't get our radar because as you said, saw in the first slide, the order amount is quite big on our site, so we don't monitor every order manually. But yeah, in some points we start to see some weird actions going there. And figured out that yeah, in 2 years we gave away free products for some guys. so that's one way to hack digital sites. And yeah, the moral is you need to have another developer who check the code before it's going live. So it cannot be the same who's writing the code.
Yeah, so I'll continue how we've been improving our site's performance. So the first layer is using Cloudflare. It has helped us a lot because it has really good caching system and can also help preventing attacks, DDoS attacks on the site. And this has been on Punkit's site pretty much since day one. Also, one thing, a good takeaway is to really look into and optimize all the requests and queries that you have on your site. Because when I joined Punkit, I think the average page loading speed was around 4 seconds or more. And the site had been developing for, I don't know, not 10 years, but for a while. And yeah, once we went through all the queries and optimized them through a period of a month or so, we got the site loading speed down to around 2 seconds or even less. So it made a huge impact. So it's really good to put effort and see that everything is developed well. Also, one thing to notice is to limit revisions on the site, because Punkit they kept all the revisions at first, and they didn't delete anything. So at some point, site pretty much crashed and it didn't work anymore because the loads and loading speeds were so high. And we got to a point where actually database was so hung up that we couldn't even delete them. So yeah, there was a huge problem. In the end, we managed to delete pretty much millions of revisions that we didn't need anymore. And now, let's say we keep, for order, we keep revisions maybe for 2 weeks, because if everything has been okay for 2 weeks, there's not a big chance that something's gonna come up later. Or if we wanna see what's happening with the products, we will give maybe, let's say, a week's worth of info, because after a week it's also quite worthless to know what the price was a week ago, or what this system did. So it's really good to find a sweet spot, how much revisions and information you need to keep in your system, and yeah, to really look into it. And also one thing that we did lately was improving database performance. This was issue as well that we had a lot of deadlocking problems in the database, which means that users had really bad experience. And Drupal's default database isolation level is read committed, which means that it's the most consistent way for database to work, that you always get the right results. But what we read from Drupal's community forums is that you can also have read uncommitted database isolation level, which is not so consistent, but we haven't had any problems with this. But actually we haven't had any deadlocks since then, and it really has helped with the performance of the site. So yeah, we keep monitoring it, and we hope it works in the long term as well. But this is also something to consider if you have performance issues. Okay, and on the monitoring side as well. So how do we monitor our site that we know that everything is going okay, that all the systems are working, because there is a lot of custom code, and it's really, we haven't had written tests for all these functionalities, so we need to know how the site is performing. So one thing is custom built notifications. For example, if you have, for example, some API connections or something similar, then if we get the wrong response or something loads for too long, then we get an email and notified that something isn't working. And it's, you can send email for as many people as necessary, and then everybody is up to date and can react. Also, because we're hosting it currently on DigitalOcean, then you can also turn on notifications in there. You can set your own limits when you want to get notified. And for these, we get notifications on Slack. And there as well, you can have many people. You can have one dedicated channel for developers or people who are responsible keeping the site up. And once some load or something goes too high for, let's say, 10 minutes, you get notified. And this is also one good way to keep an eye on what's going on. So we have our own small custom monitoring page as well, where we can pretty much see how are the loading speeds or database saving speeds, and if the API connections are working. So yeah, it was something we built a while ago, but yeah, it has helped us a lot if something doesn't work. And yeah, also Cloudflare monitoring. If you get let's say too high traffic, let's say 2,000 requests per second or per minute or whatever, you can set your own limit there. You can also get notifications, and you can react quicker. So you have pretty much all the necessary things covered. And what we are about to do is add another Zabbix monitoring server, where you also can see more in depth what is happening in the server itself. And yeah, you can have more customization and better overview what's going on.
Okay, improving site security. So few points what is like mandatory in our system for all the users or admins, not users, depending who has different access. So just to take from that IP whitelisted for even the smaller admin who has just right to read and write blogs needs to have whitelisted IP, so it doesn't gives us the option that he's going to the Spain and doing something in cafeteria and nobody knows who is accessing our site. And therefore we are requiring for all the people have the phones if they're outside of office, which has dedicated IP as well. So otherwise the phone IPs also keep changing. So that's the thing, it's mandatory in our site. And server users also. Two-step verification for all and everywhere where you can add it. Key thing to add, even we had some experience, not in our site, but for example, Facebook, everything was on, but it was still hacked. So it doesn't prevent us 100%, but gives a hassle for hackers. Role-based users, so that's the thing that if there's just a person who needs to write a blog post, then it's just rights to write a blog post, so no need to give access to that as just normal user or something else. So we have a lot of modified, customized user accesses for different peoples. And quick reaction to security updates. If there's a critical security model update that usually Drupal community will provide, we will do it immediately. If there's some kind of minor things, we do maybe weekly based. But yeah, haven't had any problems still, but not good to let them pass by. So otherwise, we had a long time ago some kind of modules we didn't update as there was a lot of minor updates, minor security things, and then you have to start updating the 10 versions back with going one by one to reach the level where the update is at the moment. So it actually makes a lot of more work during the time than just make the small update every week or something. Yeah, moving forward. We're going fast. Moving forward, yeah, now we're moving forward to Drupal 9. So it's at the moment on progress. So TVN will help us to develop that. Our own IT guys is also involved. And we're trying to launch it next year, beginning of next year. So the question is why we are moving to Drupal 9 is because for mostly system users, this environment is familiar. So we don't have to reteach how to make something. There is definitely some differences, but still and the architecture is also the same or similar. Yeah, good security, because nevertheless, what has happened so far, we haven't, besides a few thousand euros who managed to fake the bank answers, we haven't had any issues so far that somebody has actually hacked in our system or in server. So we have good hopes that Drupal 9 will provide that kind of security as well, and we can continue with this Drupal environment. Yeah, we calculated that as, I don't know in procents, but I think that around 80% of our site is custom built or even more. So the cost effectiveness will come into it. So we have also tried, let's say, WordPress or other things to just to try how to modify things there. It's more hassle, and with Drupal we have success a lot more with custom things.
Yeah, and also a few points why going from Drupal 7 to Drupal 9 is that migration is more convenient from one ecosystem to the same ecosystem. So yeah, since you have pretty much the same fields, you can recreate them, and they have pretty much the same size structure, and you don't need to rethink it for a whole new ecosystem. Also, Drupal provides a lot of flexibility and customization, which is a really big plus. And since, yeah, as Hannes said, a lot has been custom built, and I think in Drupal 9 you can do it even better. So in that sense, it also makes a lot of sense to go on with Drupal. And yeah, about the new system, this will be a headless Drupal with Next.js on the front end. So Drupal can provide all the content management and all the APIs, and in that sense is really good. And the Next.js headless part provides us more flexibility on the front end side, so you can have more, I know, maybe fancier things on the front end side as well.
And speed also.
Speed also, yeah, that's correct. And yeah, here's a teaser as well from the new system, so you know what to expect in the near future, since the building is already, or development is already ongoing. Yeah, thank you. Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, that man back there was.
Sorry. I'm just curious, you have mentioned something, but what was the biggest fail for you in numbers, like has to pay or something, and how did you solve it?
You mean the numbers as yes, errors or the...
I mean, in case when somebody got abused your service or something.
Amount of order.
Yeah, I think that sneaky bastard who took something during the period of 2 years and combined all this as a one bill was the biggest one. So we didn't notice it on the time, and actually I don't know, it was something around 10,000 euros maybe we lost during that time, but that was the highest.
But how did you manage to solve it? Did you manage to solve it?
Yeah, we managed to solve it quite easy. Andres figured out that there was comment that deleted before we going to live. And we deleted and it was done with that. So the mistake was, no, it cannot be more simple like that.
Yeah, and with that, I think the hardest part was to actually figure out how they're doing it. So once I knew that this was a problem with the redirecting URL, it was quite easy because you can search specific payment method and see how it performs. But to figure out how it actually happened was quite interesting, because I really had to go and try to do it on my own. So it took like a day maybe to go try. We knew the payment method, but pretty much how it works out. And then at the end, since I discovered that you can get the bank return URL, and since you went to that URL, it just validated whatever you had there. So yeah, it was really easy to bypass the system, but you really had to. I think the guy who did it really had to know the IT side and really had some effort to come up with that solution.
But basically, the bank's signature on the return message was not checked there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was a comment that delete before live, and even before it went to the validation part, it returned true. So, so yeah, there was no chance that nobody could get past that.
That was left for the testing only, that you can take to the bank request and see how the shopping cart flow will go. But yeah, simple things. Another question was, yeah.
Have you asked the police to investigate any of these frauds, and if yes, then what is the level of the Estonian police in these kind of matters?
Down the floor. Yeah, we did. We gathered all the information, sent to the police, and they just wrote me 1 month ago that sorry, we can't do nothing. So I don't know what's their priorities or what's the case, but yeah, we provided all the IP addresses, all the login information, what we had. But yeah, something told that it started too long ago, so we are not going to invest it more. So it was quite pointless. So cheaper to check the code.
Yeah. And from my past, we've had experiences that we basically took full information about the attacker. We went so far, so we knew the IP address and the name of the guy and everything. And police said, not much interest. But I must say that the client was actually Swedish, and they went to Swedish police, and Swedish police also said that we also.
But if it's on another route that the user will get scammed because their account will be stolen or something, I've been in police several times to give explanations why they're using our site and how they do it. So it's not actually nothing to do with me, so we don't collect any information we don't know. But still, I have to go and explain everything that how this is even possible and why they're using our site. So they're wise because they immediately get the codes after the payment has completed, and they use it, and it's just minutes, question of minutes, then the product is unused. So yeah. So yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I will take it.
Yeah, I have a sort of continuing question. Is there any possibility to cancel the code that you so that this has been brought in both, and you sort of kill the game later by the help of the?
No, we can kill if the code is not opened. So there's a high-risk system. We check that if the code is opened by users, so that sometimes you have to make payments with stolen cards, but they actually don't have time. I don't know what's the reason, but we see they have not opened the code. So that's the point. We actually can hide the order, which also hides the URL and everything. So whoever has the access, they actually don't see the code, and then we can refund for the original user the payment and put this code back to the selling part. So that's the part. But yeah, usually if the bank gets validation, it's just a question of seconds. They see the codes in our site, and if there isn't any hassle or problem or high risk system which takes it down, they can use it. So we cannot react. It's too fast. Yeah, there was other questions there also. Yeah.
I wanted to ask how big percentage of your system is payment related?
You mean what? I can explain more the question that.
If you have a code base, it has all the site functionality. How big percentage of that code base is related to payments?
Well, I think it's you can look at it in two different ways. Like pure payment is not so much, but if we look at orders generally, how we process orders or people or what we do with the orders, this is like a really big part actually. So payment methods are quite simple themselves, except maybe as I showed PayPal, which makes most headache. So we really put high effort to avoid bad situations with that payment method, but otherwise payments themselves are not like a huge part.
It's more like order checking part, that is the order validated customer correct. So that's there's a lot of more that like that. So another question was there. Like yeah.
Do you see correlation with when you have had some let's say obstacles or some manual like blockers, for example, I don't know, like how many digits in a phone number, for example, and then raise of support. So do you see like you support people, you need to hire more people when you're adding those conditions?
Actually, so far, no. All this support is done at the moment by 2 persons. So, and it's covered, they are covering several languages as we're using some chat to translate with the correct language. So, actually, no, our target has been for day one to reduce the customer support as much as possible. So, if users cannot go forward to pay, so they usually, the scammers will take contact that, hey, what's happening? I want to buy, let's say, 10,000 worth of something, so why I cannot do that? So then you have to maybe explain that. But overall, I don't know, our support load is 2 emails per day or something like that. So it's really low.
Yeah, what we also try to do is give as much information to users on the go as well. If they cannot use something, we give them a reason and explanation that, okay, you can't do this, but you can maybe try that. So this also directs people to the correct direction, and so they can finish what they wanted to do.
Or giving more frustration.
Yeah, that might be an option as well.
If you figure it out, it's a scammer, we usually direct them to the way that they have more hassle to deal with us. So we can usually even block the chat with them, so you have to write the emails instead of that. But yeah, we try to keep it as low as possible, and we haven't seen any correlation daily basis on that.
Great. Thanks.
You have described very nicely how you have learned through your own mistakes and certain things. But do you also have found some interesting resources like trainings or reading materials related, because these kinds of e-commerce scams are pretty kind of like common. They happen to other people. Have you kind of like found some kind of brain boosters or finding out before it happens?
Once we used some Israel or the company who actually validates all the customers before they're coming to our site. So they used a lot of data across the internet, put together some kind of high and low risk score, and then give us the result that is this okay or not okay to accept this user. So just reading articles, yeah, we have done it, but it hasn't helped us as much.
These are company helped.
During the time, yes, and we had a 1 year, let's say, testing period or something. We actually built for them entire Drupal module. So it took us, I don't know, 7 months or something to complete. There was a lot of adding and changing things they asked them to do, and also we wanted. And end of the year, they told me, damn, it's too much scams. We cannot work with you. So because they one promised us that they will pay if we get scammed. So they paid us more than we paid for the service. So yeah, and since then we actually they raised the monthly payment fee up to the sky. So we figured out it's much cheaper actually to work or take a bit loss and work with our own high risk system than keep this service operating.
Do you purchase, let's say, some kind of VPN exit point lists or things like that for IP quality?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we have some kind of IP quality check. Also, we have connected with some kind of community who will list. There's there's one-time emails you can get the internet and make a purchase and never heard. So actually, we have things or modules what's checking these kind of lists. So if we enter some kind of one-time email, it says that sorry, we cannot accept your order. So yeah, we have added something like things like that. Good question. Yeah.
Have you considered bug bounties?
Sorry.
Have you considered bug bounties that if somebody finds a security issue on your site, that you reward that person, like Apple or Instagram and the others do?
Yeah, we have. You mean that if they are buying the Apple codes or something?
No, I mean that if they find an issue on your site and instead of using the issue,
okay.
Like a hacker one
yeah,
or something.
Yeah. That has been at least on my mind quite a long time. So we haven't implemented it yet, but that's a great idea when we should do it. So it will help definitely. So I understand we have time now. So. We are up.
One more
question if there is something.
If we have.
All right, nothing. Thanks.